Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today, before we close out summer, when August move to September, we must, as we always do, answer our Q&As. You know the deal, Riddler goes up. You drop your questions down below, and we just take them the order they came in on. Of course, we go along here to get everyone a thorough answer, so chapters tool will be down below if you want to skip ahead, and you might want to skip some of these depending on your temperament and how much you love internet fighting. We're talking about anything from canceling no annual fee cards, what cards I'll be using when I go to New Orleans. We've got some EVs and car questions, and of course, Donald Trump even makes an appearance in this cameo, and it's not from Red Sox Nation, so we'll address all of it. So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. So batting leadoff, they hate me with an on-topic question. Where do you stand on closing no annual fee cards that no longer provide value? I think it's fine. I've never really done it unless there was a churning opportunity involved, right? So something like the Ink Unlimited, sure, I've closed that one on purpose so I can get back in line and do it again. But a lot of my personal cards end up being converted into keeper cards. That's how you get 5 freedoms, multiple custom caches, so on and so on. Of course, I have a lot of random cards that I know I'll never use again. Venmo, Rocket Card, Huntington Cash Card, things like that. I've just never really bothered to do it, but there's nothing wrong with doing it, especially if you have a lot of cards. You know, this can definitely help you lower your available credit. That way, if you're going against banks like Citi, they look at how much credit you have. If you're lowering it, then it could help you look like a more profitable customer. Maybe why would someone $200,000, $300,000 of unused credit be asking us for more, right? So you could definitely do that. What I've really taken to doing is starting to separate out my cards. So over here in this little filing cabinet, you've seen it before, but if it's a keeper card or card I'm going to rotate through and use eventually, I leave in here. Anything else, I just toss in one of those debit card holders that I've shown you on the second channel, and do that, so then they're kind of organized and out of the way. But there's nothing wrong with phoning in and shutting them down, honestly. If it makes your life easier, for sure. I wouldn't bother putting a charge on them to keep them active if you don't want them. Eventually, the bank may come through and cancel them. They did with my Wells Fargo Business Platinum. Again, my triple cash has been open for years, untouched. So it's kind of up to the bank whenever they kind of want to de-risk. But I don't bother, but there's definitely nothing wrong with doing that. Of course, churning aside, then I would do it. Next here, Red Sox Nation, when are we going to abolish the federal government? Free market capitalism? I don't know. Whenever you want to get the movement started, man, you get the hashtag going. You let me know when we're showing up and what the plan is, and I will at least hear you out on it. How about that? I don't know how it's going to go well, but, sure, give it a shot. Tea Party 2.0, or I guess 3.0 if you want. Let us know. We'll at least follow it. Next up, a gentleman after Red Sox own Hart here says, I know times are tough and candidates are lackluster to be very generous and non-inflammatory. Where's the fun in that? Be inflammatory. But why would anyone support Trump? His political and economic policies are nonsensical and shown not to work, unless you're in the top 1 or 10%. So there's 9 comments here. Some people want me to answer this, someone don't. So if you just want to skip it, just skip it. If not, I'll give it a shot here, in my opinion. I think the love of Trump is actually pretty easy to understand. He's, in my opinion, the most relatable American we've had in office in a long, long time. Most politicians go out of their way to be groomed and polished and presentable for years and years and years, and then they spend all their time trying to pretend that they're like us. Trump, on the other hand, is us, and I understand that might upset you to hear, but if you look at it, he's fat. Most Americans are fat. His suits don't fit. Most men's suits don't fit. He loves fast food. We love fast food. He probably doesn't really understand all of the policies, procedures, things in the government and all that. Neither do we. Doesn't stop us from talking about it. He's been on TV for 30 years. He understands us very well, and the fact that we don't know, but we like headlines, and we like interesting, we like captivating, we like being entertained. That was the point of all of his speeches in the middle of the day coming out, but the stock market is up, because he understands that'll get a headline, and people will associate me to that. Was it him? Was it not? I don't know. So that part, very easy, in my opinion. He's just relatable. He is America, whether America likes that or not. Downright to the yelling when you're wrong and that whole thing. In addition to that, I think it's easy to see the media going after him differently than they are the other side. Then they just had him at that journalist conference where they claimed he was racist, but I don't really remember him being that racist until he started running. Sure, he called some people out of their name, but he wasn't doing it because they were black. He was doing it because they were attacking him. Now, they weren't really attacking him. They were doing their job, sure, but it wasn't because they were black. It wasn't racist. We made it racist. I think seeing the coverage of him for so long also shines a light on that. And the last part of this, I would say, is that the Democrats have been committing own goals for like decades now, right? Most of us should probably vote Democrat, but it's easy to say like you could feel very displaced as a Democratic voter. They used to be for the working man, right, which was most people, but now they're for everything. And you can be liberal, you can be socially liberal and all that stuff, but it's easy to look at them like, wow, they are way more concerned about this. We got folks over there just, condoning stealing and smashing these stores and this, that, and the other. And I'm just trying to go to work and, who supports me now, right? So that I think Democrats have also not helped. They're usually well intentioned, but they're piss poor at execution. So you combine all those things with there's more to it. I don't want to spend forever on this, but I can definitely see why people would end up going for him over the other side. So feel free to let me know down below. Keep it civil so YouTube doesn't block you. I don't block comments, but could be fun conversation, I'm sure. Red Sox, this is basically you, so I'll let you defend your boy down below. Next up, who Unchained here. What are your thoughts on plug-in hybrid EVs versus full battery EVs, which is a more practical option? I've done no research on this at all. I can say they're both probably fine. I think the full batteries are actually probably fine. It's really more so us than anything else. I kind of equate it. The concern is always like, what if I run out? But then the argument is like, well, how often do you find yourself driving 200, 300, 400 miles in one day? It's kind of like how you go to the store and we instinctively buy extras of things. So we have it, but when's the last time you've ran out? And if you ran out, when were you not passing a store, right? That whole thing. I think the thing that brings down the full battery EVs are like the education piece, the price, and then the infrastructure. Infrastructure could be better. Tesla supercharger network is good because they're selling cars to customers. I have General Motors car. I've never actually bought a car from General Motors. I'm not a customer of General Motors. I'm a customer of that independently owned dealership that happens to sell General Motors cars, right? And the legacy autos are definitely acting that way of building charging infrastructure is someone else's problem. That concerns people. Even if you bought an EV, there's still extra cost of getting that charger thing hooked up in your house. You've got to switch the outlet out in your garage. You need an electrician to do most of this, I would imagine. So plug-in hybrids probably going to make people feel more comfortable, I would guess, but I think full battery is the way to go. There's just some stuff we got to get over or finally address that we just don't seem super interested in addressing for obvious reasons, because the money is in selling the car, not necessarily the charging network if you're a legacy auto person. So that's my take on it, someone who has not looked into this at all. Would I get an EV? Sure. I think, I like to keep my cars for a long time. Mine's paid for, so I'm in no rush. But hopefully I get the rest of the decade out of my car. Then when I seriously look at getting one, yeah, absolutely I would. I'd like to see more options. Like I think Teslas have aged poorly. They need a redesign. I could care less about the Elon things. I don't look at Elon for anything more than sell me a car. Similar to the last question. I'm not going to boycott him because he says things. I don't care what he says. I just need the car to be good. But the others, the legacy, I'll start to get into it more. Yeah, by the end of the decade, could we see more options? Yeah, then we might be talking about something. But those are probably the hangups. I think people will probably feel better with plug-in hybrids. You can lie to yourself, tell yourself you're doing something good for the planet. Probably doesn't really matter as much, but you can do it. And first, you can still get gas if you want. So there you go. I don't know. That's probably a super uneducated answer, but there we go. Doc says, is this the same Doc that used to be Napoleon Dynamite and you changed your avatar? Like, I can hardly deal with this if this is the same guy. Have you cashed out all his MR points yet? If not, when do you think you will? I've sitting on almost 400,000 MR points. Have not cashed them out. They'll be cashed out at the end of the year when I do my major cash outs. If I'm dealing with a one-time bank like that Citizens business card I got, then I'll probably cash out when I'm done with it, because there's rules around those, like you can only send it to a Citizens checking account, for business checking account. We know I'm going to close a checking account eventually. If it's a keeper and it's easy to cash out, then it goes to the end of the year. So the move will be to send them from the business platinum while I still have it through January to the business checking for one set of point. It's going to infuriate a lot of you. I don't care. I'd rather have $4,000 because I can get 1 cent a point doing it that way than sending them to Delta and paying some transfer tax or some Marriott thing or whatever. I don't know if I might, just for fun, I might make a troll post video and just I talk about it. I do think there's a good conversation to be had about what is value and quantifying value in that topic, but that's probably what will happen. It'll be the end of year cash out. Still trying to get the business green card. because that would be all the business MR cards and I'd be done. The problem with that one is the intro offer is like what, 150, but it's a $95 annual fee card. The high offer I think is 250, so you really got to get the 250 to make it worth it. If not, you're burning up most of it in annual fee. It's not super helpful. So I'm trying to get that last one and then I'd be done with it. And I know they send out those no lifetime language ones, sure. So I'm sure I might get them again, but for now that would be the move to just dump them all basically. And yes, it will upset people, so we should do a video about it just for the fun of it. Kari dude here, 2 questions. Just wondering, what do you think Capital One buying Discover will have an effect on if a customer has their savings with 360 performance savings or vice versa? Also, where were you when 9/11 happened? What were you doing? How old were you? It's like such a grab bag of questions today, which is fine because at least it's not like, hey, which credit card's your favorite? These are good questions. Could you imagine if I used this for the breakout thumbnail like that? That would be epic. Be a terrible idea. So the first one, the last I read was they were going to leave the brand separate, right? So they were going to leave it as Capital One, leave it as Discover. So I think they would also leave the product line separate. I don't think they'd force you over into one or the other. They'd probably have some parity between accounts. Like they should probably pay the same amount of interest, I would imagine. I don't know what their both rates are paying now. I could see them potentially doing something like, how like a Robinhood or folks like that partner with multiple banks. So then like you could put you get $1 million of FDIC insurance and they just move your money around some other accounts and they just act as like the middleman. I could see them doing that between the two of them. They could still offer, $500,000 of FDIC insurance. Millions the number, but it's such a low amount of people who have $1 million and let alone would leave it $1 million in cash and let alone leave it with Robinhood and those guys. And the others do it. I'm just picking on Robinhood. It sounds good, right? So they could offer something like that, maybe joint services agreement or however they do it. But I think what I read, they're going to leave the brand separate, so I don't think it's going to be a problem there. What we could also see another problem is if they decide to put one lane rules, or like if you've gotten the Capital One savings bonus, you can't get the Discover one. That, part of this was the reason why I did get the Discover card a few months ago, because again, we know Capital One is pretty strict. So I didn't know, they could leave it totally separate. They could have underwriting overlap. We don't really know, but Capital One's going to deny me no matter what. So got the ball rolling on that. We'll hopefully get another one by next year, because it's one per year before everything is solid. It could also be much ado about nothing as well, but I don't think it's going to affect too much on the product line, considering they're leaving the brand separate. Last we heard, that could change though, because it's still got to go through all its approvals and stuff. Second part, 9/11. I think it was like 5th grade. And I don't know how old you are in 5th grade, but I was like 5th grade. I could probably tell you where I was sitting in the classroom if we went back to the classroom. It was towards the front because I was a troubled child, so I always had to be under supervision. The only thing I really remember is kids kept getting signed out of school because it was in the morning, right? And so we hadn't been to school that long. And one after another, kids just kept getting checked out of school. Their parents were coming to get them. No one came and got me. I don't know what that says. Really, there's no reason to come get your kid. I understand as a parent why you might do that, but I live in an irrelevant, middle of nowhere place. No one cares. But I get it, I guess. What else are you supposed to do? So I remember that, but we stayed the whole day and everything. And then I remember we went home, and my little friend was over, and he and I watched it. There was some stuff on the news, of course, about it, but I don't think we ever really comprehended what happened. Because if you're in 5th grade, you're not really traveling by yourself or doing a whole lot. So it was yes, this massive thing happened because you're in 5th grade and so far away from it. Did it have that big of an impact on me where I was at? No, which is a weird, terrible thing to say, but just in the spirit of the question, no. So that's what I was doing. 5th grade. Everyone got checked out of school. I didn't. That's what I remember about it. I don't remember there being some big talk or explanation afterwards. There could have been maybe at home, maybe parents were hey, here's what happened. This is a big thing. I don't remember that, but I do remember just that day in class, people getting checked out, things like that. That's the memory that stands out to me. So there we go. Isn't that the story from Billions where he ends up making all his money off of that? I don't have a cool story like that. Nick, when churning bank accounts, savings accounts, bonuses, how long after you receive the bonus do you leave the account open for? Best ways to trigger direct deposit. So, if they don't list the requirement to keep it open, either on the fee schedule or in the promotional terms, then for me it's 90 days. Before this, I just got done taping the Key Bank offer. And that one, Key Bank pays out within like a week. So even still, I will leave it open for 90 days and I'll phone up and shut it down. 90 days seems to be a good call. Some people prefer to leave it longer. It makes them more comfortable. That's fine. But me, I've talked to enough bankers who are like, yeah, 90 days is like the number if it's not specified. That's what I will do. Best ways to trigger bad direct deposits. I mean, I think we have a whole video on this on the second channel, but you're looking at Wise, which we have a video of its own about why sending money from Wise usually works. Sending money from business checking accounts can work, not as an ACH, but as a bill pay, as a business paying a vendor or something. That can definitely work. Not a guarantee, but it can work. And of course, sometimes just like ACHing money works, even though it's not supposed to. Brokerage accounts could also be good. Fidelity Cash Management comes up a lot. Those are good because, again, that's like, it could be dividends or security earnings or things like that. So a lot of it is potentially trial and error. The good thing is a lot of these bonuses have been around for a long time, so there's a lot of data points out there. But that's usually what I would go with any one of those three Wise or business accounts in that order. If I don't really want to feel like goofing around, I'll just use Wise. But now that I have my own direct deposit again, I just use that. But those would be your options for faking them. And more often than not, it works. But again, you might want to send multiple things at it just to see in case we don't have like an obvious winner from data points. Leo, Brother RJ, I have a question about Delta SkyMiles earning per dollar spent on Delta flights. So he's got the reserve. It's the purple cards. Gives him 3 back on Delta flights purchase. He's also Delta Gold Medallion. Fancy. As a Gold Medallion member, you earn 8 miles per dollar spent on Delta flights. So he's confused on how many SkyMiles he's earning. Does he get 11x? I looked into this one a little bit. Yes, but it's like still, I think it's 2 separate things, right? So if you're buying the flight through Deltas, I imagine you would be as a Gold Medallion person. As Gold Medallion listed on their website, they're giving you 8 back on flights. So I imagine like by the end of the flight, a day or two later, they credit you, the spend for your MQDs and they credit you the miles to your account. That should be an 8x multiplier. That's separate. And then if you put it on the reserve, then you're going to get 3 back from that. So I think it ends up being 11 total. But I think it's still, I would consider in my mind almost separate things. I mean, the end total ends up being stackable to 11x, yes. But even as a Medallion Gold, I think you can use any credit card and you'll still get the 8x. Plus, Delta's paying you directly the 8, and then the reserve is technically Amex putting those miles in your Delta account, because doesn't Amex buy the miles from Delta to pay those out? Isn't that kind of how that works? So yes, I think you're right, and it is 11x. It's just kind of like 2 separate things, but since they're all going to the same account, it does end up being 11x back. So that's my understanding of it. Again, you know who you asked. So if anyone knows for sure, any other fancy Delta Medallion flyers out there, definitely let us know. But from what I can tell, yeah, you're right. It's 11x. It's just, because of those 2 sources. So there you go. Nathan Cashback with that lovely channel member logo next to his name. I missed a couple, but I'm back with a vengeance. Glad to have you back. When you open accounts, how often do you actually visit the branch? If there's a nearby one, you mentioned Citizens. I did. Explains why he talked to me. He is a banker in the channel member Discord. So we got sources too if you need help. I'm not gonna say any more than that, but he is a banker. But I'm curious. He has helped me with stuff too. But I'm curious how often you go out of your way to do so. I mean, I don't try to go to the branch, right? Like I will go if I have to. So like if I get denied and it's a branch is reasonably close, then I will make the trip in if I think I have a chance. At Citizens, it was a perfect example. They did deny me, but there's plenty of branches around here, so I just went in, got it done, no problem. I mean, talking to the bankers is fine because we're in the same line of work. We're both during the day and kind of on the internet, right? So we have something in common. You can always learn something. Some bankers, especially if you open a business account, they find it interesting. I've often tell them what I do. No one really cares. Some of them play as well. Not nearly as aggressive as this, but some of them do. And then some of them will even say, hey, let me take down your phone number and like I'll call you if anything comes through. And they have called. A handful have called, like 2 or 3. And if you call me, then I will go back to the branch and open the product with you. Even if I can't open it online, there's honor among thieves. I will go because you tipped me off, because you thought about me. I will go in branch and open it with you, because why not? That's, again, honor among thieves covers it. But if I can open it online, I will open it online. I mean, it's a timing thing, right? It takes 5 minutes to open the account online, if that, probably closer to 3, as we're going in branches easily an hour, right? And it's longer if you're talking to the person. You should talk to the people because it's interesting. And again, they're in sales. They want to talk to you, try to cross-sell you stuff, of course. could learn some things. But it'd be awkward if you're just sitting there in silence, would be my opinion. So I don't mind going to the branch at all, but I don't go out of my way to do it. Nothing against your profession, sir. I love your profession. Badger, thoughts on the Target Circle debit card? I have it as kind of like how you get five, or he likes it 5% off everything without the cons of 524. Any other debit cards you can think of similar? I don't really think there's any other debit cards that do this. There used to be one that was like Point Card, and it was a debit card, but like the only people they got a hold of was people on like Doctor of Credit, and they did exactly what you think they would do. So eventually I think it shut down. They were changing it to like an annual fee version. I don't know what happened to that, but I mean most other debit cards are just 1% back, if that. So I don't know of any other debit cards really like that off the top of my head. I'm sure I'm missing something. Because stores generally go for store cards versus the debit card route. Target card in any form is a sleeper card. I mean, people might give you a hard time because it's a debit card. I don't think it really that big of a deal. It really matters too much. If you want to keep a 524 slot, by all means. I like that they just give you 5% back or 5% off. It's one less cashback currency to worry about. As someone who has a lot of cards, I think it's fine. I've thought about getting the Target credit card myself. I don't go to Target a ton. Like Target's like place I go to, like if I need it now versus going to Amazon. I like Walmart. Their Target's just closer. And it also, not necessarily to your question, but it does have me thinking more that Walmart should really do a 5% card because, the way Target is set up now is, Target Circle is competing against Amazon Prime's, competing against Walmart Plus. And the Amazon Prime card is a really big reason to stay with Prime. The Target card still works if you don't have the Target service, but it does give you a discount on the Target service. So Walmart trying to push their own service, I think they would be better served doing a 5% card, not just in line, but in store. I know why they don't, because they sell everything, but so does Target. And then maybe not as much as Walmart, but like close. So, I think they should do that. But no, to the Target debit card, I think it's fine. If you don't want to burn a 524 slot, by all means. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because you're still getting your 5%. You're only going to ever use it at Target anyways. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the protections are on that. It's probably fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. So, I'm a fan of the Target card. It is one of those underrated cards out there that probably doesn't get talked about enough. We did a whole video on it a while back, just when it wasn't Target Circle, and I'm probably not going to update it just to call it Target Circle. It's the core of the video still makes sense. So I agree with you. Can't think of any other debit cards though, besides that point one that's dead. So if I'm missing any, let me know down below. Inevitable. If I have an interest in personal finance but do not have a degree or certification, what are some opportunities or paths I can take to earn a living aside from YouTube? So I mean, you mentioned YouTube, so I'm gonna guess you mean like independent versus like with a major employer. So the major employer part probably isn't as hard as you think, depending on the line of banking you want. Again, I know you said personal finance, but if you want to just get into, like you pick where I came from, which was mortgage. I mean, I'm having a degree and stuff. It's almost like looked down upon until you get to like a certain level. Then it's just kind of like easy, check the box. But many people start in mortgage operations or operations in general, myself included. And eventually work into the spots they want, whether that be on the finance side or continuing operations or what have you. That's not uncommon. If you wanted to like look at like investment banking and like finance, things like that, many companies you get with those certifications are needed. They will eventually pay to get you certified and everything. I'm sure there's agreements where you've got to stay. The degree might be an issue. Some of those certifications do say, hey, 4-year degree. They don't even care which one. But sometimes they do. So if you want to do that route, then I think it's more so figuring out what you want to do and finding the entry point to get in. If you're talking independent, then yeah, I think that having the licenses, again, we're being broad because you just kind of said personal finance. I think you run into like scalability issues almost, right? Because it's kind of like, yeah, people run businesses and do stuff all the time that they're like not fully licensed to do. I mean, how many people, show of hands, don't really show your hands, it's like have gotten contractors to do stuff and you didn't pull permits, right? Not fully licensed contract, but they still know what they're doing, right? I think my barber, you're supposed to have some kind of beauty license to do lines with razor blades. If he doesn't have one, I don't care. The only reason I know that is because some of the other barbers give him crap for it because they're mad about it. I don't care. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying probably you could make it far. You could get started, but I think you run into a scalability issues if you're really trying to be a financial planner, counselor, something like that. Eventually, you're going to want those things. But, being like an accountant, for instance, or doing taxes, for example, you don't have to be a CPA. Like one of my best friends spent a long time doing taxes, and like she doesn't have a a CPA. You can just do it. Depends on the state, things like that. But if you want to go independent, the problem you have with skipping YouTube is that YouTube's one of the only platforms that will actually help you get an audience to a degree. So I mean, if you just want to like start a website, start a blog, start a course, start whatever, you name it, like it's gonna be tough to get the audience out there without YouTube. At least YouTube gives like will push out your stuff every so often to try to get you, you know, an audience. But aside from that, if it's personal finance, you don't want to make videos. I still think you maybe you want to do a website, you want to write about it. Maybe you want to do some kind of course. I know courses have been done to death, but there are plenty of people with, you know, super helpful stuff that about how to trade or how to budget or how to do things like that. You go look at building tools for people, right? Like I've always thought, you know, the you need a budget people, that's kind of what they do. I've always thought it'd be a good cool to have a you need a budget calculator combined with credit card multipliers. There's a free idea for you. You know, so if I can have the budget plus I can pick the card I'm using and the multiplier can also keep up with how much cash back I'm earning. Probably a small group of people who find that useful, but I think you're looking at stuff like that around the combination of the creative path to kind of get the name out there and everything. And then as you go, and if it works out, then I think you're looking at potentially adding the search down the road. Because again, the main search that you're probably looking at are the ones that are like, hey, you can't manage money and you can't really give like financial investment and consultations and advices without them. You know, eventually, yes, if you want to open your own shop, it's probably just easier to have people to look for accountants with CPAs, you know, or look for tax people with CPAs because we, you know, it makes us feel better, right? So I don't know. I mean, it was kind of vague, you know, because you can go in a lot of different directions. I think those are the paths you're starting to look at independently. Of course, if you want to go in house, then I think it's a little bit easier. Just finding the job becomes hard. So I don't know if you had something in specific in mind, let me know. But again, you're just kind of like feeling it out. I think you're looking at the courses, which again they are helpful trading courses, how to build financial analysis tools, how to use things like that. Are all super helpful. It's kind of like what do you like, what do you know how to do, and where would be a good starting point would be my guess. And again, you can get your name out there. I think YouTube's just a little bit easier. It gives you a little bit easier access to get up and running. But again, it's all doable. If nothing else, start something. Talk to me. I've seen your name enough. I can probably get you a shout out or something for whatever it's worth. So we can do something. Take care of you. Anyways, hope that was helpful. And if anyone has any other ideas how you broke into finance, let this guy know below. I think I did a whole video on how I got into it. It was basically, again, through mortgages, just being an unskilled hire, then eventually kind of moved middle of the ranks, I guess you could say. All right, MLJ, good friend of the channel. What's your thoughts on the reasons why the sedan has been phased out in the car market for SUVs? Popular thought is the EPA fuel requirement is in the truck category, so less restrictive. However, the rolling battery mobile Tesla again is popular as ever. When your Cadillac eventually breaks down, it's not broken, but it was. It's fixed now. Will you buy another sedan? Yes, I'll buy another sedan simply because of how I drive. I drive the car the way it was intended to be driven, which is spirited. I don't you just lean into the seat, take the curve like F1, man. I'm good. Being up higher doesn't really do much for me. I can see the appeal, but like I don't care. I'd rather go faster and low to the ground, things like that. I mean, I know trucks are fast. You get a Raptor or something, but still, I'd still buy a sedan. I mean, in the perfect world, you'd buy both, right? But having a truck, you know, then you never have to ask anyone to borrow a truck when you move. So if you're going to have one, I totally get the appeal of trucks. As far as why SUVs and trucks are more popular, I thought it was because we like them more and because they cost more. They can sell them for more, right? Because if you're going to have one, if you're a family person, it's easier to have an SUV or a truck to shove your kids in, shove stuff in. You're always constantly moving stuff. You're only going to have one. It makes a lot of sense to get that. And then from a car perspective, they know we're buying cars a lot less, so I need to get more money when I sell them. As I make it bigger, it's not that much harder to make an SUV or a truck than a car. Plus, SUVs will oftentimes, I think, are made on the same frames as cars, so you've got some economies of scale in the factory there. But I thought it was just because I got charged more. The EPA thing is probably good, but the main car companies have shown that to get around these things, they'll stick it to the customer anytime. So why we don't have spare tires anymore, to make weight, get rid of the spare tire. Customer has to eat it, but hey, they made weight, right? So I thought it was a cost thing as a revenue thing to generate more money and a popularity thing. EPA would also be a good one too, as well. Might as well just do it over there if it's easier and people want it and the margins are higher. Be my guess. So that's what I'm going. I'm not a huge auto guy, as you know, so if anyone does know for real, let us know down below. Next up, MLJ again. My player 2 just got denied for both Discover It Card and US Bank. I feel like we just talked about this. Is it possible with the latest data breach going on right now that companies are tightening on their credit issuing? It's always a possibility, but I mean, there's also always data breaches, right? Every time, everywhere you turn, it's almost just really not really much we can do about it. Maybe because of the Evolve Bank when it hits a little closer to home when it's in the banking sector, but there's always data breaches. It was like a major hospital chain a month or two ago. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's entirely possible. I don't think they'd start outright denying people for it. I think they just make it harder to apply, right? I think you'd see a lot more of, well, great, come on in branch. I know Discover doesn't have branches, but US Bank does, right? Because they never care if you're close to a branch. They say their stupid boilerplate thing, knowing you're not by a branch, right? That's a you problem, really. So I think they do a lot of them. They start doing more stuff like that. If it came to it, when I did the AAA card, they initially did not decline me. Well, they didn't decline me, but they sent me a letter because a letter is the most secure form, I guess. And then they asked for me to email them documentation, not even in a portal. Go figure. Bank of America had denied me for a card, then sent a letter for me to call them, and then they approved me. So I think we could see more stuff like that. I think you could see more of the take a picture of your ID and your face potentially. I mean, the big guys, I don't think they're really going to care. It's like whatever, we have enough customers. I don't want to invest in this anyways. But I think we could see more of that type of stuff that people really don't like on the bank account side of take a picture of my face, take a picture of my ID, send in a utility bill. I definitely think that could happen as a result of this. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's definitely a possibility, but I don't think they'll lead to denying. I think they'll just make it harder to get, will be my guess. Sorry to the misses as well. My condolences on the double denials. It's a rough day. 50 grand. Can you share your personal opinion about the future of the Bilt Rewards MasterCard? Trying to decide if I should apply for this card, but it appears to slowly being nerfed. I mean, you might as well apply for it. It's never really had an intro offer. Like Richard Kerr guy's been pretty vocal that he doesn't want to do intro offers. I know they've done some sparingly things, but it's very rarely. I don't think it's ever been like a spend $2,000 to get 200 back. So if you want it and it's free and it works for you, I'd probably just get it. We have a link over at profitcontent.com. I think it'll get nerfed. I mean, it's a no annual fee card, so I don't think they're going to add an annual fee to it. But I do think they're going to have to rework some things. And the problem is, partly is that Wells Fargo thing of, hey, we're losing a lot of money on it, but it's really more so the customer base. Rightfully so. I don't know if Wells Fargo realized that hey, Bilt was just going to sell to people like us. Honestly, because that's who has the card, right? And that's who's going crazy with that's who's using the 5 Amazon swipes a month to keep it active and keep earning points, things like that. I don't think it really took off the way they wanted to. I mean, sure, people probably are paying their real rent with it, but I also think you can just say you rent a house and pay anybody. I don't know how uptight the verification checks are on it as well. So I do think there's going to be it's going to get nerfed a little bit, and it's probably going to get nerfed to the point where you just have to use it more for it to be valuable, which on its own right isn't unreasonable if I'm Bilt or if I'm Wells Fargo. I think you'll see something like that. I don't think you'll see an annual fee come into play because I just think that would kill the card really. But I do think it'll be more so spending thresholds that are not rent, not just 5 transactions a month, right? Because that's just too easy. They could get a little bit more uptight looking for documentation for rentals. Again, I mean, you can still just go online and get a rental agreement, right? But the more checks they add, of course, the more expense they add on their side. But I think that the nerfing would be something like that. We don't know when it's coming. Do I think they're in discussions talking about it? Sure. Have they done some stuff to it? Yeah, I think then they come out and block. I know Rich Kerr had like a Twitter post where he was like, hey, we're going to block something people were doing to max. Oh, there was rent day got nerfed. That's what it was. I think they're going for the easy ones now. The core of the card, I do think it'll get refreshed to some degree, but we don't know how or when. So, I mean, if the card works for you, I would go ahead and get it. But I do think you're right. And if it did happen, I think it would be something about how much you use the card to get the points. Either going to be more swipes or dollar amount based, so at least they know that, hey, we're getting our swipe fees off of it and we're increasing the chances of you paying interest on it, right? I think those are the things they can do, because that was Wells Fargo's thing. Wells Fargo thought people were going to carry a balance, and it turned out they did not, which makes sense because one, most people are used to paying rent in full, and number two, you're sending it to people like us anyways. So I think those would be the main changes around that, which, and if it does change, well, then, I mean, whatever, you're not out anything because it was a no annual fee card and was good run while it lasted. That's my take on it, anyways. But could be wrong. We just don't know. But we will definitely keep an eye out for you. All right, next up, with your spend, why not just keep churning out Amex MR Biz cards, cash out at 1 cent point via Business Platinum or Schwab? Credits are annoying. Well, my business cards are through the real LLC. I don't know if you get the Schwab Platinum, if you can actually transfer points between entities, between personal. I'm sure I could start opening these under a sole prop, I guess, like I did originally. But I don't know, because I just don't want to be bothered with it. I think it's a lot of headache to get 1 cent per point when I can get 5 cents for earn 5x on a lot of stuff for free. I don't even use the credits. I've got the business gold. I think I have it through November. I don't use the credits. Could not be bothered to do it. I know people can tell me I can automate it and this, that, and the other. I can do the Grubhub pickup thing. I hate the credits. They annoy me to no end. I don't feel like using them. I don't want to be bothered with them, so I just don't use them. The one exception is I do use the Business Platinum's $10 cell phone credit every month, but even then that's annoying because it ruins my cell phone auto pay because I have to go in and make a $10 payment and then do the payment with my cash to get the remainder of it. I just think it's a lot. If they offer me no lifetime language, would I take the cards again? Sure. If they were super high elevated offers again, like the 200 or 250, yeah, I would do it again because it's just an arbitrage play. Would I keep a Business Platinum open just to keep trying to get these and cash out at 1 cent a point? Probably not. It's still $700. And when I look at my credit card sheet, my goal is to get $5,000 in credit cards every year. And starting right off every year in the hole by $700 is pretty rough, right? It's $700 just to keep a Business Platinum. Again, assuming they didn't just offer me a no lifetime language one again, and then it's whatever the Business Gold annual fee is at $325. Now I'm already down $1,000. I know I can make it up off venture offers, but the goal is to make the money from the banks, not give them on these broken cards with these terrible credits that I hate. So that's why I don't do it, really. I'm actually looking forward to being done with American Express offers. Again, if they give me no lifetimes, I will probably do them because I'm running out of offers, period. But I'm looking forward to being done with American Express. I'll still keep my business stuff, my Boo Business Cash card, and like my business checking, but their products are annoying, they're broken, they're overrated, and they're expensive. So I really don't want to be bothered, honestly, which I know is weird because I'll be bothered with a lot of stuff, but this is where I draw the line. But again, I cannot stress enough how annoying I find the credits. Again, I'm not even using the $20 a month on the Business Gold card. It's just sitting there. Don't care. Don't even want to do it. Next up, the credit card connection. Which two cards will be used in New Orleans for you? I can't wait to meet in person. Oh, you're gonna be sorely disappointed, man. I'm gonna be there. Just I'm overrated. So 2 cards. I mean, I've been using for travel. Can tell it's not a bank. It's funny because booking the flight, I actually have the Business Platinum, which would give me 5x back booking it. But I used the Bank of America Susan G. Komen card. I flipped it to travel, so I booked it on that, which is 5.25 back. Again, just didn't really want to earn any more Amex points. I'm good. So I used that 5.25 to book that. Hotel on the Bank of America card too, and it'll probably be like the one Uber trip from the airport to the place and back, right? The other card, I guess, would probably be the City Custom Cash that I use for dining, would be my guess. I mean, I'm coming down Saturday and I'm coming back Sunday morning, so I'm not really going to be there for that long. So I think it's the travel through the Bank of America, and then you got to eat a few things. So it's probably the City Custom Cash. I'm not really there, I'm not really trying to buy a bunch of stuff. I don't really need anything, so I can't imagine I would need to use any other cards besides the Bank of America and the City card. Those are going to be my go-tos. I mean, I always bring my, catch-all card just in case. I could bring the Business Platinum if I wanted to go to a Sky Club, I guess. I don't know. I don't really feel like being bothered with it though, so I probably won't unless I can think of a good video idea, like revisiting Sky Club in 2024 or something like that. So again, those are it: Bank of America, and then the Custom Cash. I thought about using the Autograph, but again, because the Autograph would be a good card, which I have, but because I got the Bank of America, which was the whole benefit of preferred rewards, and the Custom Cash 5%, might as well go with those. But the Autograph card, you could have made the argument that would have been the card, but whatever. I got higher multiplier, so I did not bring those. Or I probably won't bring it, but that might have been my choice if I hadn't had those. But looking forward to seeing you too. I hope I don't actually disappoint. We'll see. But I will be there. Hope to see some of you guys there as well. But of course, guys, that is it for the Q&A. So of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you find particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week. Of course, right back every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on profitablecontent.com. The channel's blog, always linked down below for you and on the channel homepage. So if you want to get started doing some of the stuff we've talked about here today, like bank promotions, those direct deposits, or more credit card offers like the Bilt Rewards, well, definitely check us out over there. It is much appreciated. But anyways, guys, that's all the questions and answers. Again, thank you so much for writing in. If you need any more detail, you want to yell about Trump or anything else, I will be down below. But again, Red Sox probably going to jump in and take those for me, I would imagine. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.